Welcome. This is UAP Truth 33. I'm John, I'm your host. Or John sees Truth 33, depending on what platform you're watching on. Either way, you'll find me. Today, it's a very important show. We're talking about the new movie, The Age of Disclosure, just premiered at the new film festival, new Dan Farah film. It appears that individuals in that movie were threatened and warned with dire consequences if they appeared in any documentary. So we're going to get into that today. That and the fact that these things have been with us all through history. So stay tuned. I'll be right back. Yeah, so look, the fact that these people are being threatened and they're as high up as they are in the government. Not that I think that anything's going to happen to any of them. They're just too visible. They're too out in the public and they're too high up in the government. They have too many connections. I can't see somebody taking any of those people out like they did Amy Eskridge. Now, if you're like me or the average Joe and we knew something, there's a good chance we might not make it. And that's a shame. We need to turn the tables on these bad actors, these individuals that are running these ops. That's what they are. They're ops. It's a shame, man. We're supposed to be living in America, man, in a free society where freedom of speech, freedom of press, uh, freedom to speak the truth. Well, wow. The fact that we're even talking about that is insanity. This isn't China. This isn't Russia. Like, what is going on? Not free to speak the truth. And it's a fact. It's 2025, man. I'm going to tell you there's two things that you do not have a right to that you think you have a right to. Number one is the freedom to speak the truth. Number two is the freedom of privacy. There is no privacy. You know, back in the 90s, they used to say, oh, they're going to chip everybody. Everybody's going to have a chip, you know? And then it turned out they don't have to chip us. We walk around with a chip every day, right here, man. This is the chip. I'm laughing, but it's really not funny. But it's so ironic to be living in America in this day and age when everything has been turned upside down. It's just crazy, man. And the fact that these individuals, you know, the Lou Elizondos, the Christopher Mellons, the fact that they receive threats and whatnot, that is just crazy. And the other fact in this film that they really push, one of the points is that, so okay, I'm gonna break it down for you. Most of you already know, but some of you don't. So I'm going to tell you. So the two main points is non-human intelligence exists. Non-human intelligence has been interacting with humanity. This interaction is ongoing, and it's been going on for a really, really long time. There's some that believe they were here before we were. That's crazy, right? But here's the twist. So Crick, I forget what the other guy's name is, but these were the guys that discovered the DNA strand, right? The double helix. And Crick, it's well known. He said that it appeared that this was designed. You know, and there's been other scientists that come out and say that there's an actual code in our DNA. Most of our DNA, they used to call it junk DNA, but that just meant we don't know what this DNA is, so therefore it's junk. Because that's how these scientists and you know people think. This the scientific community as a whole is almost like a religion, man. You can't step outside the bounds or you get ostracized. Just look at Avi Loeb, all the flack that he caught over a Muamua because he had the guts to say, "Man, this thing is flying." you know, it's not a rock floating through space. Being uh, moved by gravitic forces. No, this thing is flying, and man, he caught hell for that. He did. I mean, he got famous off it, but man, did he catch a lot of flack for that? Still does. I seen him on I forget what show that is, man. Another scientist. He's always talking about the Jasons and stuff. Damn it, I'll come back to it. But anyway, he was on his show, and the dude was like laughing at him. Just totally being hypercritical and condescending, and man, what can I say? I felt bad for him, and this is the nature of the world we live in. People getting threatened for telling the truth, people being ostracized from the scientific community because they tell the truth. Hey, this thing's moving anomalously, man. It doesn't make sense. It just, and these people just make up some dumb excuse for why it's being intelligently controlled. It's just, man, they tried to say that it was hollow and it was as thin as like a thin sheet of metal and that the sun's rays were propelling it. They had to make up all these crazy theories that even sound crazier than the fact that it's possibly an alien artifact, under intelligent control. No, no, they had to make up this big story about it being as thin as a thin sheet of metal, yet it's as long as 3 football fields, but it's so lightweight that the sun's rays are what's propelling it through space. Like, get the man, come on. You know what I mean? I mean, it's crazy, right? Wow. The Muamua, man. Avi Loeb. Gotta love him. Hey, he's Harvard. He's a Harvard professor. Like, he knows his shit. Sad. It really is. So all these people, these high government officials, high intelligence, counterintelligence, ex assistant secretary to the Department of Defense, Secretary of Defense, and all these labels and stuff. You got Carl Nell, you got Admiral Gallaudet. I mean, a rear admiral, dude, telling you that these things are in our oceans. They're hiding in our oceans. Catalina Island, you know, and people are you still got these paid debunkers like Mick West and who's the other guy, Shermer. Come on, man. The jig is up. It's over. And look, I was watching The Backyard Professor last night. I love that dude, man. Seriously. Like he keeps it real. Like to the point where he doesn't care, man. He's gonna tell you how it is. And I respect it. I respect it. I had to even tell him, like, yo, watch. Don't get too on the right or the left, or you're gonna end up losing half your viewers. Man, did I catch hell for leaving that comment? But yeah, dude, like it's just crazy. So we don't have the right to tell the truth, and we don't have a right to privacy. And if you say, look, and if you say the wrong thing, about something you may know that you shouldn't know, it could be over for you. Rest in peace, Dr. Amy Eskridge. But I don't think that's going to happen to these people in this documentary. It's crazy, man. The other thing I want to get into, I believe, and I'm not going to go too all ancient aliens on it, but I am going to go. I'm going to tell you what I think. You can agree with me, you can disagree with me. That's fine. But I think what we have here, like I've read the Bhagavad Gita, I've read the Bible. I've gotten into a lot of written works about ancient writings. And it appears that these things, they show up in these ancient scriptures. These beings, the Naga, the serpent, demigods and such, angels, demons, the jinn, uh, and I believe they're all true dimensional. I kind of take the same view as Hal put off, uh, John Keel, guys like that. I just feel that they were right. And the reason why is I've had experiences in my life where I felt as though I hate even telling people, man, because it sounds crazy, but I felt as though something was communicating with me through the things in my environment. And it was being done in such a complex, cryptic way that I can't really explain it without sounding absolutely batshit crazy. But I'm going to tell you, it had to do with complex, layered synchronicities, symbols, a lot of symbols, reappearing and reoccurring over and over. I'll tell you, owls was one of them. Just one of the reasons why I keep these little statues of owls everywhere. The all-seeing eye was one of them. Like, did you know that there's an owl on the back of the $1 bill? I'm gonna post it here. I'm gonna show you right here. There's an owl on the back of the $1 bill, and that was pretty much the icing on the cake of the symbols, where I felt that there's something higher than me, way more advanced, that has the ability to do this type of thing. I mean, you want to talk about power, dude. It's unexplainable. But those of you that know, and I know there's some people out there that have went through this same thing, and they probably keep it to themselves, and I probably should have kept it to myself. But, I like to speak the truth. We'll see. Maybe I'll get criticized, ridiculed, and called crazy. That's fine. And like in the Bible, like, okay, so I read the Bible, not the whole entire thing, but I read like Genesis, the main stories. I read most of the New Testament, 90% of Proverbs and Psalms. I got into like Kings 1 and Kings 2 for a little while, with Saul and David. And then I started getting into the ancient Sumerian tablets, Zechariah Sitchin. And look, I know a lot of people have came out and discredited Sitchin. They're saying that he translated everything wrong and geared it so that he could sell books, whatever. This is my thing, right? So it was a dead language, you know, and it's translated with like a almost a Rosetta Stone. So they never knew how to read Sumerian, right? And then so it was Sumerian, the Akkadians, and the Babylonians, all in that same area, you know, Iraq. And we knew how to read Babylonian. We knew how to read Akkadian, but we never knew how to read Sumerian. So what happened was we found in a Babylonian tablet, and it translated Babylonian into Akkadian, and then Akkadian into Sumerian. So we had that Rosetta Stone. We knew how to read Sumerian, and that was only what 1800 sometimes. So it hasn't been that long. And I'm like thinking, how many people really know how to read it, how to translate it? You know, we don't know what the context of their words meant. Like in American, we have words, it'll be the same word with multiple meanings depending on the way that you use it. Surely the Sumerians have words like that. And I've been into like exegesis and stuff, which is basically like the origin of words. And I was reading it in reference to the Bible, in Greek and whatnot. And what I found was you can translate a sentence so many different ways. It's just like we speak, right? So say I'm talking to you on this microphone while I'm viewing myself on this monitor to make sure I don't look retarded, right? Or whatever. You can switch that around and say, oh, I'm looking at myself on this monitor while I'm talking on this microphone and looking into the camera, trying to stay engaged with my audience, right? So it's basically the same sentences, but it's in a different form, right? And with these ancient languages, we don't know if something else is being expressed by the order of the words that they're using in the sentence. Kind of like how we use the same word that can have two meanings depending on how we express it. And I don't know if I'm confusing you guys. If I am, I really apologize. But what I'm saying is, how do we know who's right when it came to translating those tablets? But I'll tell you this: the flood story, and the creation story really, really was very similar to the Bible stories. Now, there's biblical scholars that'll argue against that, but listen, man, Zivasustra or whatever his name was, the Sumerian Noah, right? The story is very similar. Also, Sodom and Gomorrah, I believe, is in there. Um, and the actual, so they put the dimensions into a tablet on how to build this ark. And I believe PBS actually, it was a science thing show, and they actually built it. And they said that it would have worked in a flood. But I believe the tablets they were different than the Bible in that there were gods. And in the Bible they shrunk it down to monotheism. But the stories are very similar. The only difference really is, I mean, and there's differences. There's more differences than just many gods and one God. But there's so many similarities that I feel it's the same story. And like the tablets have their version of Abraham. Guess what his name is? Abram. And if you remember in the Bible, his name before Abraham was Abram. So it's wild. And from what I've studied, well, if you read Genesis, when it speaks of Shinar, that's Sumer. They're talking about Sumer. The Anakim, you know, that was like these beings. And it kind of reminds me of the Anunnaki. I'm going ancient aliens. I'm sorry. I really am. The point I'm trying to make is These things are ancient, and they've been with us all along. I truly believe this. And you don't have to. See, that's the beauty of my show. Sorry. You can tell me I'm batshit crazy and leave it in the comments. We'll have a little discussion, but it's going to be all respectful with love, no condensation, no disrespect. You know, that's the beauty of my channel. We can conversate. What do you guys think? Are we dealing with the gods, the demigods, the Nagas, you know, the Anakim, the Nephilim? What else? What other words we got for these beings? Jinn, Muslims. I mean, the Muslims call them jinns. I'm not saying that they're Muslims. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. And not only is it crazy, but it's scary, dude. Damn. I'm sorry, man. That headphones are hurting my ear. But it, the way the disclosure is happening now, and look, the drone thing is still going on. These things in the sky are still there. And all this is happening now. And the divisiveness of the world, you know, um, it seems like it's all coming to a head. And I'm not like an end times guy. I'm not. I don't think that these things are all demonic or all that. But I do think that there's good and bad. Just like people, man. There's good and bad and everything. Our whole world is a dualistic world, you know? We got man, woman, good, evil, it's just the makeup of the world we live in or the simulation. If you're like me, that's what I believe. And I don't believe it's like a computer simulation, but I think like the backyard professor last night, he was speaking about locality of objects aren't real, right? Um, I very much agree with him on that. They won a Nobel Prize. He really made a great point. Um, but we live in a dualistic world. So of course there's going to be good and bad with these beings. But what's the agenda? You know? And I think we're being prepared. Like these officials that are coming out, these in this movie, Age of Disclosure by Dan Farah. Please, everybody needs to watch this movie. Especially if you're not familiar with the UFO subject. Please watch that. Well, they're like gearing up. And it's like John Ramirez said, this was in 222, I think. He's like, we got 4 years to prepare the public. Because if these things show up, there's going to be a lot of answers that we're going to have, a lot of questions that we're going to have to answer. And he was a ex-CIA agent, John Ramirez. You can look up the internet. You know what? I'm going to include it with this video. Matter of fact, let's watch it right now.
The U.S. population, at least, and by extension, the world population, into that reality that there is a presence here, and that we need to explain this presence. Because if they show up and we continue to do what we did before, previous decades, and they show up, there will be mass panic. But if you understand that these are real, and we have 5 years from 2022, or maybe now 4 years, if they come in 2027, for the U.S. government to prepare the people about what is up there. And in many ways, I think the word got out within the government that they're showing up in 2027, and we better be prepared. And if not, there's going to be a lot of explaining to do.
So you see that, and it's like, look at that, and then think about the things Chris Bledsoe said about the Star Regulus rising over the Sphinx. And that when that happens, it's going to be a new knowledge in the world. There's going to be a new knowledge in the world when that happens. So you see all these things happening, and it's leading to something. What's leading? Now, I'm not going to say this is, the end times. I'm not going that far. I'm not. I'm not ready to go there. But it's leading to a conclusion. And I often wonder, like, I see that the way things play out, how issues and problems seem to repeat themselves, almost like in a cycle, kind of like, the checks and balances of our government to the waves of the ocean. You know what I mean? There's a cycle. It's like a pendulum that swings, right? And it speaks to this in the Hermetic text, right? Not the Emerald Tablets so much, but the Kybalion speaks to this. And it's like somewhat like karma, but different. And that's what I mean. Like, it's like a pendulum that swings back and forth, and it's like a cause and effect, and it's just like a cycle that we go through, even in my life anyway. I don't know if any of you have noticed. Have you had cycles in your life where you go through these obstacles and problems, and it seems like the same issues always pop up that you have to deal with, you know? And and then you look, like, as you get older, you look generation to generation, the things that they go through and the things that happen in the world around you. There's cycles. And is it possible that these things are going to reveal themselves to us, and maybe it's the end of a cycle, and we're about to enter into a new age, a new knowledge, you know? Are we going to unlock anti-gravity technology? Look, people are doing it, People are doing it. And, like, right now in laboratories, they're only having, like, small effects, but the effects are there, you know? And they're getting better at it. It used to just be like really, really small anti-gravitic effects. A lot of them said that it was like ion wind or something. I don't know, some weird thing like that. And they have these things called lifters, But now they're actually getting results. I check out Tim Ventura every now and then. He's a really good content creator on this type of technology. And they're getting better at it. And I think we're really close to unlocking clean energy, and maybe not only that, but we're about to have open contact with these higher beings, you know. You ever just look back at the ancient past. Look at the ancient structures like the Kailasa temple, the pyramids, the Serapeum in Egypt. The Serapeum in Egypt, to me, that rivals the pyramids. Those gigantic diorite sarcophagi, they were like sarcophagus in these chambers deep underground that they had to get through these tunnels, and these humongous boxes were hollowed out. So if we were to try to make one of those big, gigantic stone boxes today, we would get slabs and bolt them together to make the box. But they didn't do that back then. They literally carved it out. Perfect symmetry. The corners, perfect 90-degree angles. And the thing is like 800 tons. How did they even get it down into those tunnels? It's amazing. Serapeum in Egypt. So you look at those ancient structures and accomplishments that they did back whenever they were supposedly working with hammer and chisel with horse and buggy. I'm sorry, I'm calling bullshit on that. And so I believe that it's my hope and my belief that when viewing all the evidence, the biblical stuff, the Sumerian tablets, the Anakim, the Nephilim, all that stuff, the cycles that we seem to live through in our lives, the problems and the karmic debt, and all these things that seem to manifest, it's coming to a head. The movie, the controlled disclosure, John Ramirez, look, we got to get them ready. If these things show up, if what things show up, John, Mr. Ramirez, if what things show up, right? That's what we're talking about. Chris Bledsoe, star Regulus, rises above the Sphinx. He says around Easter, but I've heard from some astronomers that doesn't happen until like fall 2026. So I don't know. I don't know who's right. But new knowledge. Is it going to be open contact with non-human intelligence? And we find out that these things have been directing humanity all along. Yeah, Robert Dean. Robert Dean said back in what, the 80s, not early 90s, he saw that NATO paper in the 60s. He read it, top secret paper, and he had top secret clearance. And Robert Dean said these things look just like us. You could be sitting next to one at Eaton Park or Denny's or the church or walking down the street. You could walk right past one of these things. You wouldn't even know that they weren't human. They look just like us. Kind of reminds you of
first-hand reports, verifiable NATO military material that indicated that the UFOs were not only real, but they represented something far beyond anything I had ever imagined before. When the study was concluded in '64, they concluded that there were 4 different groups apparently coming and visiting us. Out of those 4 different groups, one group looked exactly like we do, so much so that they could sit beside you in a restaurant or in an airplane or in a theater, and you'd never know. And that particular point bothered the military guys a lot. Some of these people from somewhere could be walking up and down the corridors of SHAPE headquarters, or they could be walking up and down the corridors of the Pentagon. But that was only part of the story. The SHAPE conclusions in '64 was that there were 4 groups that we knew of. They even concluded that some of them could be intergalactic. Many of our military people knew at that point that we were not simply dealing with visitations from people from other planets or star systems. They had concluded by '76 that some of these visitors very well might be multidimensional in their source. The evidence that we had collected and the evidence that they had repeatedly demonstrated to us
of biblical, the men of renown. See what I'm saying? I want you guys to think about that. Could it be that these beings have been controlling the destiny of humanity from the start? I think it's clear to me that that's the case. I feel that they've been directing humanity all along, and that there's different factions. And you look back at the great conflicts of the past with Germany and in the 40s, 30s, go back further. I feel like those first 2 global conflicts, 1 and 2, I think they were connected, because Germany really started the second great conflict. I got to watch what I say because of YouTube, so I can't really call them what they were. But the first global conflict, was really related to the second global conflict, because the second global conflict started because of the grievances of of how the first great conflict ended. In other words, Germany was really mad about the Treaty of Versailles. I believe that's how. But is it possible that these beings are directing humanity, and that it's coming to pass that things are going to be revealed to us? And if you think about that concept, things are going to be revealed to us. I believe that that's what apocalypse means, right? Like a revealing. You know what that means? I know revelation. That's what that means, right? Things are revealed. It's interesting, Gary. It's wild to think about. Is there going to be a big revelation, not so much like the book of Revelations, but a revelation, a revealing. Maybe this has all been planned. Everybody's experience has been geared towards their specific needs in order for them to grow spiritually. Maybe we're coming to an end where things are going to be revealed to us. There's going to be a new golden age. Is this what Chris Bledsoe's taught? I hope I'm not getting too deep for people. I'm trying not to go too ancient aliens, but I think these things have been here all along. I think these things have been directing humanity all along. And I think we're about to find out. I think we're getting ready for open contact. I don't know. I hope you guys liked the show today. I hope I didn't go too deep, get too crazy, too woo-woo. I mean, that's what I like to do. I'm going to tell the truth the way I see it. Hopefully I don't offend anybody. And I hope you enjoyed the show. Please, if you did, hit the like and subscribe. If you're new, welcome. Welcome. To all my subscribers, people that have been here, thank you very much. If you're new, please feel free to like, subscribe, share it to a friend, man. If you think it's interesting, if you think I said something valuable, please hit the notification bell. Come back tomorrow, man. I make videos daily. If today wasn't to your taste, I'm sure tomorrow will be. Sometimes I just put footage up and critique it and joke around. Other times I'm serious, like today. So I try to have a variety. If you want to, you can go to my channel and just hit the playlist and just scroll through and pick out something that you want. Some of it's light, funny, some of it's serious, dark. I just try to cover whatever the stories are of the day. But I'm sure you can find a video in there that you'll like. But thank you for watching. Till tomorrow. It's John C. Truth 33. Thank you.